in the French journalist and columnist for the Telegraph, Elisabeth Moutet. She joins us now live from Paris. Anne, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We appreciate you coming on. So we've just outlined some of the credentials there of the three challengers for the president. Which one of those do you think presents the greatest threat to Emmanuel Macron?
I think it's a very open race because in many ways, what he wanted was a rerun of 2017 when Marine Le Pen was in the runoff and he beat her easily. And every figure shows that he would beat her easily again. And she's not been helped by the rise of Éric Zemmour in the past 3 months, which make her look in many ways pale and stale. So the worst nightmare might very well be Valérie Pécresse. But it's early days. There has been a poll which has been published on the website of Le Figaro about half an hour ago, and it gives Pécresse a 7-point boost in voting intentions in the first round. And nobody knows whether this will stick. But in that case, she polls the same thing as Marine Le Pen, 17%.
And if Emmanuel Macron wants to appeal to these sorts of voters, the base of these three candidates, what will he have to do to try and boost his appeal to them? Or perhaps is he already right-wing enough? His main problem is that he is the incumbent. And 5 years ago, he was completely unknown. He'd been a minister for 18 months. And other than that, he was a civil servant. He'd never been elected to anything. And he was 25 years younger than every other candidate. And many of them voted for somebody who looked reasonable. And he looked sort of energetic and young. And he annoyed all the others. And the aspect of trying to get rid of the old politicians is something that must not be discounted. It's the root of every populist vote. Every country does populism in a different way, but that was the appeal of Macron, and he can't count on this. He can count on the reserves of the state. He's been giving out money like crazy. He says it's because of COVID. It happens to be really convenient 4 months before the election. And he's also the stature of the man who does things instead of talking about them. So, of course, he's got advantages. But it's still a very open race, I should say. Well, it's exciting, I have to say. Just going to last night, to yesterday, to Sunday, Éric Zemmour, I know he was attacked at his first campaign rally. It was one of several violent incidents on the day. Is this how you see his candidacy particularly panning out?
Well, I think that's the way the press wants to cover it, but I happened to be there, and frankly, from most of the place where the rally was being held, big convention hall in near Charles de Gaulle Airport, you couldn't see this. What you had is one guy who sort of grabbed him, and security pulled him off, and he injured him slightly, but he still gave his speech. And at the other end of the hall, on the other side, you had the half a dozen people from an anti-racist movement who suddenly sort of pulled T-shirts that says "No to racism" and started shouting slogans. And about the same number, or perhaps 10 people from Macron supporters, the young and stupid ones, went and had a scuffle. This has been built up out of proportion compared to what 90% of the people, 99% of the people in the hall saw and heard. The speech itself was interesting because Éric Zemmour has had very bad poll numbers in the past 2-3 weeks. He had a very bad TF1, French first television channel, interview in prime time. But that speech was 1 hour and 13 minutes. It was very well delivered. It was impressive. It was milder than what he said before. And I've heard, while we were live tweeting and covering this, I had left-wing commenters who were saying, God, he's good, but they won't write it because you're not supposed to write this. But you can disagree with his ideas, but see that professionally he has grown in a few weeks.
Well, it should be very interesting. We look forward to speaking to you about this as we go through the campaign. Elisabeth Moutet, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and apologies for some of my pronunciations.